Anderson wins this match. He knocks Matthew out of the way. Take a look at the standings here as well. You've got Philip Braverman in 8th place. Bradley Yu, that player from Oakland that we saw when we were there, he's in 9th. Lissette in 10th. So standings are going to get very interesting. Exon 4 starts at 7th place. Cataxian Pro will start this match. It'll reveal a Spell Pierce, Young Pyromancer, a Brainstorm, a Probe for Todd, as well as a Flooded Strand, a Tundra, and a Volcanic Island.
And Todd is firmly the control deck in this matchup. Got a lot more power in his deck, a lot less explosion. So it's going to be his job to defend the early pressure as much as possible, to be able to get himself in a position where he can start resolving some of his more powerful threats, especially Stoneforge Mystic. Not the easiest card to keep into play against Blue-Red Delver, but if it sticks, Battered Skull is usually game over.
Pluto Delta will get sacrificed here. Matthew will go down to 17. Search up a beautiful Volcanic Island. And we'll see what he wants to play after the probe. Looks like it's a Delver of Secrets.
And he knows the coast is clear. Todd with no way to kill this based on the opening hand.
Well, he's got a way now.
A timely Pyroblast.
Now the question is, how does he want to sequence his spells here? Does he want to cast it now? Does he want to wait for Delver to flip? He's just going to cast it right now.
No reason to get fancy here.
And it will resolve. So Tickal will draw a card. Copy of Brainstorm. So he wants to lead out his second turn. He will start with a Brainstorm. So 3 cards coming here. 2 cards going back in just a moment.
And it's not enough for Todd to just blunt the initial wave of pressure. He's also got to win the game kind of quickly because Matthew's deck is so good at accelerating 2 Treasure Cruise.
Just a Volcanic Island after the Brainstorm, passing the turn back. You see Matthew's hand, a Force of Will, a Brainstorm, a Lightning Bolt, Treasure Cruise over there as well. Anderson going to play a Flooded Strand. He'll just pass the turn back.
Not in a rush to get Young Pyromancer out there, knowing that it's very likely to either get dazed or just die.
Young Pyromancer the draw there for Matthew. He will deploy. Anderson's going to cast the Brainstorm in response. That'll resolve Spell Pierce, Source of Plowshares, and a Lightning Bolt among the cards he's found.
Some excellent draws here for Todd. He needs to find as much cheap interaction as possible.
Looks like 2 cards going to be headed back here in just a moment. There they go. Brainstorm done resolving. Young Pyromancer is in there for Matthew. We're going to head back Todd's way on his upkeep. He'll sacrifice the Flooded Strand, go down to 19. Time to search up a land.
And even though Todd has redundant removal in his hand, he's not willing to play anything into a potential daze here. So instead of trying to Source of Plowshare or bolt the Young Pyromancer at the end of the turn, just going to go into his main phase here and most likely try to kill it now.
Yeah, I'm not getting anything dazed if I can help it.
It's not under that much pressure.
Okay, online parents for seminar also available.
Time for Anderson to draw. I think it may have been a copy of True Name Nemesis, a 2 of in his deck.
And you can see a jutting of a lower lip. Not a shabby draw, maybe a change of plans here. A Resolve True Name Nemesis is really problematic for Blue-Red Delver. No way to get it off the table, and the only thing that can attack through it is a Delver of Secrets that gets flipped, or an army of Young Pyromancer tokens.
Anderson going to play his land. Now he will go with the Young Pyromancer. Will this resolve is the question. There's a Cataxian Probe. Trigger. Elemental token incoming. There that is. We'll see a hand here, Fork Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Brainstorm, Force of Will, and Daze. Now we have seen some patience here for Anderson. Not casting spells into the maw of Daze. Will he continue with that?
Well, he's not going to tap out for one of his valuable cards. He's not going to just Source of Plowshare or Bolt at this point.
There's another elemental token. Draws an island off of that Cataxian Probe.
I thought there was some chance he might save himself there too light by hard casting.
I thought so too.
And that way, if Matthew wants to daze, no big loss. But Todd not even willing to allow him to trade that much.
There's Fork Bolt. Trigger the Young Pyromancer. Spell Pierce. That'll get dazed. So an exchange of spells there. That'll leave Anderson with an elemental token. Actually leave him with 2, as he had 2 beforehand. So Forkbull took down an elemental token and a young pyromancer.
Standard open players. Welcome to round number 7.
Now that's not a bad spot for Todd to cash in the Spell Pierce, but keep in mind, that's really the only thing that he has in his hand that can prevent this Treasure Cruise from going off. If Matthew doesn't find a third land, Spell Pierce is a fine answer.
Trigger the young pyromancer. And now a brainstorm will resolve.
Attention players who want to play in the last side events of the meeting. There are 2 spots in the draft.
I believe I've encountered Matthew at a previous invitational.
Okay.
I remember him being very friendly.
He's making a deep run here.
Oh yeah.
Here's the Treasure Cruise. Trigger young pyromancer.
And this is the cost of the way that Todd decided to play this. It was not a bad spot for him to Spell Pierce, because it likely wasn't going to do very much other than fight over the Treasure Cruise, and he wanted to get an extra token out of his young pyromancer, but it has allowed Matthew to resolve the Treasure Cruise.
Step 1, lightning bolt. Will that resolve? Yes, sir.
No big reason for Matthew to fight over that, as he has 4 tokens to Todd's 2.
And here's young pyromancer. Excuse me, here is Trinity Nemesis.
That, on the other hand, I'm sure we'll get a response out of Matthew.
Yep. Forcible removing Delver's Secrets. TNN taken care of. We're heading back to Tikal's way. Tickal will draw. It's a Bloodstained Mire.
And you can just see the efficiency of Blue-Red Delver on display here. Todd's deck objectively a lot more powerful, but Treasure Cruise has a way of catching up for a deficit in power between 2 decks.
Are you saying the Treasure Cruise is a good card?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Very quickly blocking, trading elemental tokens. Matthew left with 2, and now there's another copy of young pyromancer. Anderson will draw. That's the Swords of Plowshares.
Looks like Matthew contemplating a lightning bolt at Todd in response.
Somebody wants an elemental token, perhaps.
Part of what makes this attractive is Todd doesn't have a second white source of mana in play, so it's very unlikely he follows up with Stoneforge missing this turn, which is the major incentive to keep lightning bolt in your hand. The flip side of this is that Matthew has a Monastery Swift Spear in his hand, so he can hedge a little bit by saying, okay, the Source of Plowshare resolves, and you still get your +1 point of damage the next turn if Todd doesn't do anything that warrants using the lightning bolt.
Well, he's going to go bolting right now. So in response to the Swords of Plowshares, he's going to get an elemental token and deal Anderson 3 points of damage. Anderson's down to 10. Swords is done resolving. Tickal goes up to 18. Follow-up is a Treasure Cruise. The green light is on for that. That will be resolving. 3 cards coming here for Anderson. Can he catch up? You see his hand. 2 Ponders, a Treasure Cruise, and a Flooded Strand. Now it looks like it's time to ponder. So take a look at the top 3. Lightning Bolt among them.
And
He's going to shuffle.
I think at this point, Todd has to be very aggressive in trying to find Stoneforge Mystic. I don't think random pieces of spot removal do a lot for him at this point. Neither do counter spells because he's losing to the board. But if he finds Stoneforge Mystic, he turns this game around very quickly.
Mystery card coming. Spell Pierce. Got a lot of those in his deck this weekend. It's a card that's definitely been on the decline. Flooded Strand going to get sacrificed here for Anderson. There's a Tundra. He's at 9. Two mana. Treasure Cruise again.
Not a bad turn.
Not at all.
Draw 3 twice, I guess.
I think he found a copy of Batterskull. He'll pass the turn back over to Matthew. Todd hoping he's not going to die. Matthew going to play a copy of Monastery Swiftspear. This is a Cataxian Probe for free. Swiftspear is now a 2/3. There's the grip. It's a Probe, a Bolt, a Pierce, a Ponder, and a Batterskull.
Shields are down this turn, but Todd's got a big follow-up the following turn.
We'll see if Matthew can kill him this turn. Right now he's dealing 5 as Monastery Swiftspear is a 2/3, and then there are 3 elemental tokens in play. If he's able to draw a Lightning Bolt off of this Cataxian Probe, it's lights out.
You can also kind of go infinite with cantrips. We've seen that too.
Taxian Probe lets you go a little deeper. Draw, Island, to go with the Bloodstain Mire. There's the Mire, here's the attack.
So this caused Todd to fall to 3, meaning Bolt is live, but Matthew with not much of a board, so Batterskull will take this over otherwise.
Time for a draw. Young Pyromancer is what Anderson's found. Will he try to slam down Batterskull or maybe go a different direction?
Well, if he can put together Young Pyromancer plus a bunch of spells, then he may be able to block his way out of this and not risk exposing his Batterskull to a daze. But it is additional draw steps. That's the risk here. And Todd right now dead to Lightning Bolt. Batterskull gets him out of the clear faster, but again, very risky in the face of a potential daze.
That's easy when you see their hand. You know, we just want to say, cast Batterskull, get it out there, and hope you fade a Lightning Bolt. But I can understand where Todd's coming from here. He's going to play Pyromancer. He's going to try to come up the board now. There's a Ponder. Take a look at the top couple of cards. Force of Will, very important here. I think he has to keep this.
It does insulate him from Lightning Bolt. And if he can continue chaining together spells here, he blocks out this turn. He has an answer to a Lightning Bolt. Batterskull becomes a live play the following turn.
There is Lightning Bolt on the on the Swift Spear, excuse me. Pyromancer will trigger another elemental token now. Now here's a Gataxian Probe. Wants to see what the hand is, but he's not paying life for it. Yeah, let me see that island. Thank you. Draw a card. Polluted Delta, kick it back. Tickal gonna untap. Perhaps he may crack his fetch on his upkeep to thin his deck a little bit. We'll see.
It's the merits of thinning versus the merits of having a shuffle effect in play in the event you find a cantrip. It's very thin math. I generally think it's better to take the draw step here.
Matthew's gonna sack. There's a mountain. Let's see what Matthew's able to find here. It's a Brainstorm. I do wonder if you're supposed to counter that. Yeah. He's going to go down to 2. Pass the turn back. I was wondering if you're supposed to counter actual Brainstorm, especially when you know your opponent's hand is going to go down to 1 now from Polluted Delta, or if you're supposed to let that resolve and counter what comes after it.
Again, this is all very thin math.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the idea of saying to Matthew, put you on 1 draw step, because Brainstorm can beget, other cantrips. It can become running draws. Might give Matthew the opportunity to find 2 bolts when it's all said and done.
In for 2.
And Todd just likes to jam sometimes.
Oh, we know that.
The top of your deck better be good, buddy.
Here's Batterskull, trigger Germ Token. Fingers crossed. Can't do anything else. Your turn. It better be a gooder. It's a Polluted Delta. That ain't it. We're moving on to game number 2. Todd Anderson comes back and does win game number 1 here over Matthew Tickal. Jeskai Stoneblade up a game here over Blue Red Delver.
A harrowing game 1. Todd navigated it very well and put Matthew on draw, bolt, or bust. Matthew missed.
We'll take a look at the sideboards here. We will start with Matthew Tickal. He's got a Trinity Nemesis, a Hydroblast, an Echoing Truth, 2 copies of Flusher Storm, a Smash of Smithereens, 2 Price of Progress, a Pyroblast, and like Trickery, a Blood Moon, along with a Pithing Needle, a Grafdigger's Cage. Let's make it 2 of those, and then a Grim Lavamancer. A lot of nice options here for him.
I like bringing in the Pyroblast here, the Grim Lavamancer. I think the non-basic land hate is also reasonable here. I think the 1 copy of Smash Smithereens is the perfect amount. Don't want to draw too many of them. You do want to have access to a Shatter effect in this matchup because Batterskull and Numa's Dictator are so threatening. I think the Trinity Nemesis is good here, and the Hydroblast, so a lot of good options.
Other side of things for Todd with his Jeskai Stoneblade deck, 4 copies of Cabal Therapy, 2 Surgical Extraction, 3 Meddling Mage, 2 Hydroblast, and it's a Static Caster, 2 copies of Wear and Tear, and a Pyroblast.
Give me the blasts, give me the Static Caster.
Static Caster's great.
Statcaster is perfect for this matchup.
You saw in that last game just how important Umpire Master was to both sides of the board. Huge, huge card there. So both players going to shuffle up and get ready here for game number 2. Todd Anderson does win game number 1. He needs some things to break his way. First of all, he's got to get through this match, which is a pretty difficult one, and then tiebreaker's got to show up.
This would be a great story for Todd. He looked like he was on the verge of making a run for the Players' Championship during quarter 4. Flew to Minneapolis for an open alongside Brad Nelson. Eventually tapped the mat, was burned out from playing and traveling so much. Wrote an article on Star City Games about it. To win this Invitational, not only his second Invitational win, but to get to the Players' Championship in spite of everything would be an enormous accomplishment.
Hey, he wanted to make a run at things, and as you mentioned, he just kind of burned out, which, been there, know what that's like. I mean, he plays more Magic than anybody.
Yep.
Sometimes you just need to have a couple weeks off, and so during Thanksgiving, he could have traveled out to Richmond, but he said, you know what, I'm just going to stay home. I think he went down to Alabama to see his parents and just said, I'm just going to, put my feet up, watch a football game and not do anything. And trust me, that's a pretty good feeling. We don't get to do that very often, so.
It's not just the tournaments, too. He plays a lot of Magic Online.
Yeah.
StrongSat is generally logged in whenever I'm logging in.
Fair. And you're logged in few and far between.
I have peaks and valleys.
Sure.
When I feel like I've stumbled upon a good deck, then I like going on and playing a lot. Last spring, when I felt my mono red deck was pretty good, in Standard I was playing a lot, but the decks I built lately have stunk, and therefore not on as often as I used to be.
Big Dan Teague is in hiding.
Big Dan Teague is just waiting for his chance to strike, much like in the movie. So it's really nice how that works itself out.
That's just a nice selection of a screen name.
Yeah.
That's all.
Me and my friends went through a stage where we were really into the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? So, we all made screen names. The only requirement to be in the guild is that you had to have a screen name based on the movie.
Ah, okay. Loose requirements.
Yeah, we initially tried to name the clan the Pass the Biscuits Papio Daniel Flower Hour, but that turned out to be too long.
Is that too many characters?
There was too many
characters. Okay, that's unfortunate. We'll have to talk with the powers that be with Magic Online, see if they can fix that.
Can you please expand the clan character name to 47 characters?
Yes, because
it's not enough for me otherwise.
there was what was that? Pappy?
Pass the Biscuits, Papio Daniel Flower Hour. Have you ever watched Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
I have not, but it sounds like I should.
It is a wonderful movie.
Is it a comedy?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I've heard nothing but good things. I've heard on your podcast, I believe you said, on our podcast, I believe you said that was your favorite movie?
I would have to think about it more. It's definitely my default.
Okay.
If I can't think of anything particular to watch, I plug that one in.
Do you own the movie?
Yes.
All right. That's what I wanted to hear.
I really like Good Night and Good Luck. I watch that a lot when I have nothing in particular to watch.
Or perhaps without an economist to read.
And sometimes I dabble in the disastrous Aqua Teen and Hunter Force movie.
That movie is terrible.
Unwatchable.
It is really bad.
It is unwatchable.
I ran to the theater to go see that, and then I ran out of it.
The first 5 or 6 minutes are sweet. It's just like any episode of the show. The first 5 or 6 minutes are awesome, but you can't stretch that into 90 minutes. It becomes unwatchable really fast.
Can't you? Can't you?
Well, you can, but it's unwatchable.
Yeah, I think the show is like 12 minutes long.
Yeah, they had to keep that one short because those plot lines are on diminishing returns.
Well, both players are happy with their configurations now. They will lay out their 7 cards. Matthew Tickal will be on the play. He almost got game number 1, just came up a little bit short. See if he can tie things up here. Looks like they're both happy. We're underway here in game number 2. It is a volcanic island, and that is a ponder.
I gotta say, it really warms my heart when I see Blood Moon and Price of Progress in the same sideboard.
Combo.
I'm gonna get you one way or the other.
Yeah, combo deck. They can never be ready for where you're coming from.
So many angles of attack.
Yeah. I can get you both ways.
When I see that in a deck list, I usually feel like, wouldn't you be better served having just one or the other, whichever is better? But I can also appreciate the style points of having both.
This is a Delver of Secrets. That is a lightning bolt. Delver goes to the graveyard. Anderson will draw a card. It's a polluted Delta. He'll just pass the turn back.
Something I've noticed in Legacy lately is just Pyroblast and Hydroblast all over the place because of the way that the Blue-Red Delver matchup plays out,
Yeah.
which makes me feel like if you're going to sideboard things for the matchups, the more that you can go to white cards or green cards or black cards, the better serve you're going to be.
Perhaps that's why Maverick was able to win last weekend in Portland.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. A lot of these sideboard slots are being taken up by blasts, and avoiding that, if you can avoid that, those decks are giving up a lot of percentage points.
Anderson going to search up a Tundra here with the Polluted Delta. Swords of Plowshare is going to go after the young Pyromancer.
Todd, again, super conscious of days the whole way through. If he's going to trade with the days, it's going to be on his terms, not Matthew's.
Sword's done resolving. Time for Anderson to draw. Force of Will. See the Brainstorm in his hand. Has a Pyroblast as well. He'll start by playing a fetch land and just pass the turn back. Tickal will untap. He'll take a draw. Brainstorm is what he's picked up. See the Treasure Cruise in his hand. He'll start things off with a Brainstorm off of his island. Anderson perhaps maybe a little bit interested in having a little fight here. Yes. Pyroblast will go after that.
With Matthew not up to anything, I like fighting over Brainstorm pretty aggressively because clearly digging for action. And if these two are playing a waiting game, it favors Todd quite a bit.
Pyroblast will take care of Anderson's Brainstorm from Tickal. Anderson will now cast a True Name Nemesis, thinking that the coast may be clear. Perhaps the Brainstorm was the setup spell.
If it resolves, that's great for Todd. And if it doesn't, well, now this is happening.
Yep. And we talked about in game number 1, True Name Nemesis is not a card that Blue Red Delver can get off of the board, and it's into play. Fort Bolt to the draw. Embarrassing. True Name Nemesis laughs at Fort Bolt.
And every other removal spell, basically.
Correct. Tickal is going to sacrifice his Polluted Delta and cast a Treasure Cruise. And we know Anderson does have a copy of Force of Will in his hand. The question is, does he have another blue card? And if he does he even have interest in fighting? It does not look like he has another blue card.
I know he has a Staticaster.
Oh, excuse me. But does he want to let that go?
He could be saying here that I don't think much of Matthew's deck matters at this point. I think I would fight over this. We'll see what Todd wants to do. You'd be pretty sure your opponent doesn't have days because they didn't have days last turn. And I like this.
Yep. Force Will removing Staticaster. That'll take care of the Treasure Cruise. One card in the graveyard now here for Matthew with Anderson will untap. It's time to draw. And Umezawa Jite was the draw on the top of his deck. Oof-ah.
Because even though Todd has a huge edge on the board, this Jite may make it a lock if he's able to stick it, though I think Smash and Smithereens may be in Matthew's hand.
I think that may be the case, yeah.
If you allow Treasure Cruise to resolve, you can get overpowered.
There's an equip. This is an attack. Oh, it's not Smash. Can't quite make out what that card is right now. It's Price of Progress. Okay. Deal you 6, puts you to 11. Matthew will take 2. But we have seen this sort of game before from True Name Nemesis. That plus equipment is very, very difficult for a lot of decks to beat. Tickal did pick up a copy of Brainstorm. This might give him a fighting chance. Anderson says, I have a Pyroblast. And that will be countered.
And what I really like about this play is that if Matthew's going to beat Todd from this spot, it's probably going to involve red spells. Things that can get the Umezawa Jite off the table, maybe some weird block like Ensnaring Bridge. So you don't want to be stuck with a Pyroblast in your hand if your opponent's going to eventually beat you with cards that you can't Pyroblast. You may as well go after the Brainstorm.
Jite is going to go up to 4 charge counters. Here's another copy of True Name Nemesis.
Why not?
Lightning Bolt's going to go upstairs, put you down to 8s. But a burnout strategy against Jite with counters on it. So Todd's going to gain 2 life.
Just being careful here.
Yep.
No reason to slip low and have some weird split-second shenanigans take you out.
It's 10 to 10. The life totals are scored, but this game is anything but. And Todd Anderson is going to win this match over Matthew Tickal, 2-0. Jeskai Stoneblade takes care of Blue-Red Delver, and for Anderson, coming into this round, number 12 in the standings. His tiebreakers aren't great, but we could see him in the elimination rounds.
And that was a clinic in role assessment. Even though the Jeskai Stoneblade deck plays an aggressive role in some matchups and And young Pyromancer is definitely associated with an aggressive role. Todd knew his role in the matchup, played very defensively, was very conservative playing around Daze, and eventually overpowered Matthew. Game 1, exceptionally close, and then Game 2 was a walk away.
Congratulations to Todd and